Thank you for coming, all of you. You've been very brave, and on top of the corona, the cold weather outside, quite bitter. So, inshallah, the warmth of Iman here will give you some um, increased temperature so you could feel more relaxed, inshallah. So, we're going today, inshallah, to finish Surah Tabarak. And Surah Tabarak, it's well known as Tabarak, as we said last week, but it's Surah Al-Mulk. And Allah Azza wa Jal started it by saying تبارك الذي بيده الملك وهو على كل شيء قدير. So Allah Azza wa Jal mentioned the two things very important for everybody: to have mulk, ownership, and to be able to utilize what he owns. A lot of people might have things, but they don't know how to utilize it. I mean, you might have a car and it breaks down, you wouldn't know what's wrong with the car. You have to go to somebody who has the knowledge and able. And you might have the mulk for a while, and then you leave it and go. People do have accumulate money and wealth and whatever, and then they die. They leave it behind. People might never have the mulk. They have the skills, but they don't have the money. This is why people make partnerships. Somebody who knows a skill and somebody have the money, and then they find that they need more people to join too, because no matter how much skill you have, you need skills to advertise, to sell your goods, to improve your goods. One of the things, being a doctor, I don't know if you have a company. I didn't know before. I came to know. I learned a lot about economy after I retired. I didn't know that part of the money you need to keep aside to repair your machines and replace it. And obviously, you need things will depreciate. And then you need the skills, because even if you are successful now, things develop, competitors come, and you might find yourself lacking behind. Allah Azza wa Jal has the ownership and has the ability to run what He has to the minute needs. So the very first ayah expressing a lot about Allah Azza wa Jal. And then we said last week, الذي خلق الموت والحياة. SubhanAllah, I listened to some more meaning by other scholars, the meaning of Surah Al-Mulk. And one of them said, it's amazing how Allah said, started by creating death before He said created life. So the day of judgment, there won't be any death. Allah will bring death and slaughter it between Jannah and Jahannam. And so He will say to people in Jannah, stay there, no death anymore. And He will say to people in Jahannam, stay there is no death. So death, as I understand it biologically, you have either decaying body, your body used and aged, wear and tear. No matter how much your car is, one day it will disappear. Your body will rotten, will become unusable, and you will be unlucky if multiple organs fail, especially important organs like your heart and your liver and your. So, death. If Allah Azza wa Jal is telling us that He will end death, it means that He will create a new biological system, will never age. And you never need food and drink. It's like water. Water will stay water unless contaminated by outside agents. And you don't need to feed the water to remain water. You don't need to feed the oxygen to remain oxygen. So those things Allah created will carry on being there with or without us. When the moon comes out, you think, how many people saw the moon? Prophet Muhammad saw the moon, Ibrahim saw the moon, Musa saw the moon, Adam saw the moon. Every creature saw the moon, and they're all gone. And the moon still come, and the sun. That's all what He created, that He created us to test who is one of us is better indeed. So there's competition here. Allah expects competition. Who is actually better deeds than others? And Allah said in Surah Al-Isra, كذلك فضلنا بعضهم على بعض وللآخرة أكثر درجات وأكثر تفضيلا. Allah made us different in this life, And the day of judgment, there will be even more variation between us. Not difference because one is better than the other, but in this life, if your toilet flood, you stuck. You need to go and beg the plumber to come. If your car doesn't start, you go and beg AA or RAC to come, or a mechanic to come and help you. If you become ill, I mean, small history. I'm sure my wife will accept for me mention it. She had some problem with the eye. I saw the eye, and I said this, and then said, "Do I need medicine?" I said, "You need GP to give you the medicine." So she phoned the GP, but she mentioned a ward to the GP. GP became worried about it. And, oh, you need to go to the eye hospital. Go to casualty in the eye hospital. And then so it happened that Abada, my son, phoned her, and she told him, and he's a doctor. And then she mentioned something extra than what she said to the GP. None of them was correct. But obviously, two doctors phoned, said to her, go to the eye specialist. And then the GP sent us a text. And no, she spoke to her colleague, and he suggested she goes to the optician. And so her son booked the optician, and she went and saw the optician. And he said, "Oh no, no, just dryness. Water will be fine. Normal saline, something, which is hypercellulose and things." So, three doctors and the patient, and we couldn't, find an answer to a minor issue. So, um, so Allah Azza wa Jal is the one who is able, and He's testing us, and He is aware that we make mistakes. So He is Aziz and Ghafoor. He will forgive us. And mind you, He doesn't need us. He doesn't need to create us. He doesn't need to check whether we're good or bad. It's like the university. I mean, if you go to university, you benefit. If you don't go, they're still there. Somebody else will go. Um, الذي خلق سبع سماوات طباقا. Allah has created 7 heavens, layers, we said last week, on top of each other. ما ترى, you don't see في خلق الرحمن من تفاوت. What Allah created, you don't see variation or defect or something missing. And I was listening to some Egyptian scholar, Ahmad Abdul Munam. He was saying that he stretched it to beyond the air and things. He said, you see your body, what's missing? There's nothing missing. It's quite perfect. Your eyes, your eyelashes, your ears, your inside the ear, and they bring all sort of data and see. I remember a case when the American ordered from Japan machines, and they said we expect only 3%, 3 per thousand defective machines. So any fault more than that, which is 0.3%, will reject the order. So the Japanese sent the order, and they said, we don't understand you, American, but the 3 defective machines are wrapped separately. Because we don't accept, that's our standard 0 defective machines. So Allah Azza wa Jal, He sent us some people with learning disability, some people He created with genetic problems, some people have this problem, that problem, to show you that I can create you perfect, but if there were imperfections, see what happened. My daughter was in Nottingham, and she was living with 2 English girls, Christian girls, and they said to her, why Allah didn't create us perfect? Why we are imperfect? And she came and asked me. I said, in fact, Allah created us perfect, and Adam or Eve were supposed to live forever in Jannah, but they ate from the tree which will make them imperfect. And they became imperfect, and they came down to earth, and they became more imperfect with all sorts of mutations and exposure to the sunlight and the ultraviolet light and heat and cold and germs and all sorts of things and poor nutrition, and so we became imperfect. Adam lived 1,000 years, Noah lived 1,000 years, Dawood, Sulaiman, and Musa lived 300 years or something, but we are living 60, 70 years. So ما ترى في خلق الرحمن من تفاوت. Look, There's no defects in what Allah created. Every creature Allah created, He created the food before He created the creature, including us. When we came down to earth, Allah Azza wa Jalla said, هو الذي خلق لكم ما في الأرض جميعا ثم استوى إلى السماء فسواهن سبع سماوات. He created all what you need on earth before He sent you down. So imagine you go to a hotel in a remote island and you arrive there and say, oh, you need water. We didn't know. They didn't tell us you need water. You need soap. Oh, you need the washing machine. We haven't got one. Let's order one. Oh, you need some food as well on top. So because they're not prepared for you. We had invited people many times for talks, and we make sure that we get variation of food. And the lady came and she said, "Where's the pork?" What would you say? There's no pork sandwich. You're inviting us. We should bring what we eat. I didn't have an answer. I didn't say anything. I didn't promise for next time. I didn't apologize, and I didn't answer actually. I just made exclamation, like, oh, is it? I see. Couldn't promise her, and she deliberately said this in front of some other people that you have to cater for everyone. She knows. Um, so خلق سبع سماوات ما ترى في خلق الرحمن من تفاوت فارجع البصر هل ترى من فطور ثم ارجع البصر كرتين. Also, one of the scholars saying that the challenge is duplicate, triplicate, quadruplicate. Like, when they did discover the coronavirus has to be duplicated, triplicated, has been done by other countries and other cities in different research center, and all agree that yes, it works. Then they license the stuff and they start injecting people with it. So that's a scientific method Allah Azza wa Jal wants us to follow. Look again. Look a second time. Look two more times. فرجع البصر كرتين. You will find that there is nothing wrong. And nothing will come that it is wrong with the creation of Allah Azza wa Jal. And then Allah Azza wa Jal told us that He decorated the heavens, سماء الدنيا بمصابيح, with lights, with lamps. وجعلناها رجوما للشياطين, to chase the shayateen, stop them. Shayateen, there's a hadith, um, if the shayateen were not busying men and son of Adam, doing wrong things and misbehaving, they would enjoy the universe. So they have ability to travel than us. They have ability to move around. Um, but the shayateen will go through the hellfire and will be punished there. And to those who disbelieve in Allah also there is Adhabu Jahannam, the punishment of Jahannam, and the worst destination. And then he mentioned that وَإِذَا أُلْقُوا فِيهَا سَمِعُوا لَهَا شَهِيقًا وَهِيَ تَمُورُ. سمعوا لها إذا ألقوا فيها سمعوا لها شهيقا وهي تفور. I like the expression from one of the scholars. He said, imagine if, God forbid, you're taken to prison. They put you in a single cell on your own, and the walls start shaking. And the walls are really angry with you, and they're starting to sound to them, and they're about to crush you and things. How terrified you will be. That will be hellfire. The hellfire itself is so angry and went just to rip them apart and waiting to punish these unbelievers in Allah Azza wa Jal. وهي تفور, boiling. تكاد تميز من الغيظ. It's about to rip itself. So you will look into the walls and they were going to explode. Now,
I mean, I was thinking last time that when you, like with the blacksmiths in their furnaces, there's like an air thing going on, and then the, the fire actually make that sound, which we can probably see here. So maybe it's just that it's been kind of made to go faster in Jahannam as well, with somebody is blowing air. Maybe the angels are blowing air just to make it hotter, like in the furnaces in blacksmiths. they have got this air coming
Yeah, and the
through.
blacksmiths push air more,
Yeah,
so
so that make,
the
and then
fire will make
as
more noise and
yeah,
sound.
so
Well, Allah told us that hellfire itself like a creature, because the hellfire, Allah Azza wa Jalla will ask her, وقيل جهنم هل امتلأت يوم نقول لجهنم هل امتلأت. The day when we ask Jahannam, are you full yet? And Jahannam will say, هل من مزيد? Is there any more? So the Prophet ﷺ told us that eventually Allah Azza wa Jalla will put his foot into hellfire, and hellfire will say, قط قط, had enough, had enough. So the way described in the Quran and in the Hadith is like it is a living uh, creature of Allah Azza wa Jal. So you will see later when أفمن يمشي مكبا على وجهه خير أم من يمشي سويا على صراط مستقيم, that he will be walking on his face. So they asked the Prophet ﷺ, how would the person walk on his face? He said, the one who made him walk on his feet will make him walk on his face. Simple answer. It's the creator who will decide, and then that they will, every time they were thrown into it, they will be asked, questioned by the gods there. Did you not have a Nadir? And a Nadir, we said last week that Nadir could be a prophet, Nadir could be your own brain thinking, Nadir could be the Quran, Nadir could be, one of them said, it could be the white hair. Because when you are 40, you reach a milestone when you have to stop and think, where am I going? What am I doing? And the Prophet ﷺ said, if you reach 60, Allah has been so generous with you. You need to stop and think. So that's the nadir, the age. And I'm sure most of you think the same. When I reach certain age, I start thinking, what have I done so far? Where am I now? Where am I going? Am I okay? Am I ready to go if I die now? To go to paradise or go to, God forbid, go to hell. So the nadir could be also the age, you age. Nadir, I heard it today as well, that other creatures, because Allah could have created all of us at the same time, both, all of us, tried, tested, you pass, you fail, finished, that end of life, you go. But Allah created us ages, fathers, grandfathers, great grandfathers, children, grandchildren. So we learn, we see our fathers, what they were doing, we see the grandfather doing, we see the uncles, we see the nephews, we see the nieces, the mom, the dad. So all these are Nadir. He's saying they gave you, look, because my mom used to say, look what happened to so and so. Look what happened to so and so. We look at his children, what happened to his children. Be careful of this. So this is also a Nadir, they said, having other creatures, other nations. Allah used it a lot in the Quran. Look into other nations. What happened to them? قالوا بلى قد جاءنا نذير. We had a Nadir. فكذبنا. At that time, you regret or you apologize, doesn't work. They will still stay in hellfire. وقلنا ما نزل الله من شيء. They were denying that Allah had sent anybody or anything. إن أنتم إلا في ضلال كبير. That they were telling people who were telling them about Allah that you are in a great loss. You don't know what you're talking about. And that's an answer we get from many people. Even sometimes his own relatives, if somebody was not blessed with good family. And they and then acknowledge. وقالوا لو كنا نسمع أو نعقل. Here, obviously we all hear, but some of us have selective hearing. They don't want to hear certain things. And especially if you are with people who don't like religion, or they don't like to be reminded because they feel guilty they have done this wrong and that wrong and that wrong. I remember, some brothers, in the Friday khutbah, they would say, no, don't mention these, don't talk about this. But that's what you actually need to hear, because it's probably your disease and you're not aware of it. I mean, a lot of us, when you are overweight, you don't want the GP to say you are overweight. If you are eating so much junk food, you don't want the GP to mention it. Oh, I know about it. Yeah, but you're not hearing, you're not thinking. لو كنا نسمع أو نعقل, you refuse to use the brain. Now, article after article after article come in medical journals and in newspapers that alcohol harmful no matter what amount you take. They might publish it several times in Britain, and the same about cigarettes, and the same about drugs. And people now, the most things increased in its sale is the breweries during the lockdown. People have been buying alcohol right, left, and center. And they're told, they all know. And they all have all sorts of, resources and sources of information. They're being told. Um, but they don't want to listen. ما كنا في أصحاب السعير فاعترفوا بذنبهم. They acknowledged their sins, but the answer is all to hellfire. فسحقا, just crush all those people of hellfire. There's no, it's okay, I'm glad you accepted, I'm glad you regretted. No, that's in hellfire won't be. You're staying there. So whether you apologize um, or not, you're staying there. Many ayahs about this and mention it in the rest of the Quran. إن الذين يخشون, on the other hand, ربهم بالغيب. Now again, Allah told us about who are mindful of Allah, afraid of Allah. They fear Allah, they respect Allah, they hopeful of the mercy and gift from Allah. بالغيب. بالغيب, again, they have a lot of meaning. بالغيب could be on your own, and you're still doing your salah, maghrib, isha, fajr, zuhr. You still do the fard and sunnah. Because sometimes, mom is not here, just skip the sunnah. Or fasting, or talking nicely, or not using foul language. Oh, nobody can hear me. Um, Two of my friends went to Canada. We finished the secondary school. I went to medical school, and these two went to Canada trying to get green card and passport and things. And they told them the easiest way is to become Christian. So the Christian will apply for you when you become. Uh, so one of them um, managed to get. I think the first one managed to get married or something. The second one was to become a Christian. So I took him to the church, and they need to baptize him. And he was 20 years old. They need to strip him, baptize him, and there's no way around it. And he was insulting his friend in Arabic. That you got me here, and he used foul language. And it happened that the priest was Lebanese. He knows Arabic. So he said to him, yeah, we still need to ask the Lord whether he accepts you or not. So come tomorrow. And they came tomorrow. And he came out to him. He said, oh, I consulted the Lord. He said, no. What should I do? I said, okay, come tomorrow. And he came tomorrow. And again, he came out to him and said, oh, the Lord hasn't accepted. And the third time he came and he said to him, the Lord hasn't accepted. He said, can I speak to the Lord? He answered them in Arabic. And he said, I was hearing that, the communication. So you need to be mindful of Allah Azza wa Jal in all situations, wherever you are, alone or not alone. And again, يؤمنون بالغيب, also the scholars tell us, our teachers, that the things you don't see. There's no point, I believe there is a sun. Don't. The sun is there, everybody's seeing it. No point saying, I believe in the moon. You need to believe that Allah created two angels on your right and left, and they're recording what you do. You don't want to believe? Tough. Because one day you will regret not to believe. And when is it, the after you die? Yeah, okay, let me die. That's blessing from Allah. It's the most challenging things that Allah delayed the punishment to after death. If it was the British law and you caught not wearing the mask, you pay £100 in the shop. We're not going to wait till you die and you come back again. Um, so, um, so you're living in the unseen, which you haven't seen, which is Allah, the angels, hell and paradise. Um, haven't seen the day of judgment. Haven't seen other prophets. You haven't seen Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now, subhanallah, I mean, I always think that Allah Azza wa Jal, to make us believe in prophets, He kept few of them still there. The grave of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the grave of Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, the grave of Prophet Yahya in Damascus, Prophet Ibrahim in Hebrew, And there's other prophets scattered, but these actually protected by people. When I went to um, Hebron, in Khalil, Medina Khalil in Palestine, I visited the grave. It's quite a long grave, Ibrahim Khalil. It was in the mosque. But when the Jewish invaded, occupied the West Bank, they split the mosque into two parts. One part, because they said that Ibrahim Khalil belonged to them, and the other side is the Muslim side. And now I heard they showed us on the German television they're building a church in Berlin, not a church, a religion center where there is a mosque and a church and synagogue. So in a way, the three religions, Islam, Christianity, Judaism, supporting each other in their existence. You all know the story of Maurice Bucaille, who was analyzing the mummified, Ramses the second mummified body, and he found that he drowned, and they were Maurice Bucaille. No, no, he uh, he spoke about Shaq al-Qamar, but he was talking about he analyzed them. He's anatomist, and he analyzed them, and he found that seaweed and the salt water. First, when they carbon dated the shroud, they found that Ramses the second who existed the time of Musa. But in the Bible, he's actually drowned. And how is it that he drowned and he's in front of me? So when he analyzed, he went into the lung and things, and he found seawater and seaweeds. And he, I said, look, let's look what the Quran says. And he found in the Quran, Allah Azza wa said, اليوم ننجيك ببدنك. Today we will preserve your body, so you will be sign for people to come at later date. And he said the Quran saved the Bible. The Quran saved the Bible from being wronged. And this book from God, this book from God, and he became Muslim. And he started writing booklets about Islam and science. So believe in الغيب لهم مغفرة وأجر كريم وأسروا قولكم أو اجهروا به إنه عليم بذات الصدور. Whether you actually keep your وأسروا قولكم أو اجهروا به إنه عليم بذات الصدور ألا يعلم من خلق وهو اللطيف الخبير. So whether you are saying secret what you want to say or openly, Allah knows what's inside your chest. And that has been believed by Muslims at the time of Prophet Muhammad because they used to keep secrets in their mind. Nobody knows about it, and Allah Azza wa tell Prophet Muhammad and he tell them. Like one of the Qurayshi wanted to go, he said, if I only have somebody to sponsor my children and take care of my family, I would have taken my sword and went and killed Muhammad. So his friend, he said, he will look after his children and his wife and his trade, whatever. Off you go. So he went, got by the Sahaba, brought to Prophet Muhammad. He's coming here for no good. And the Prophet said to him, uh, he tried to, oh no, I'm coming just to buy, we'll sell, whatever. The Prophet said to him, didn't you speak to Safwan in Mecca? And you said to him that if somebody look after my children and my family, I will take my sword and go kill Prophet Muhammad. He said, by Allah, only me and him was there. Must be Allah told you, and he believed. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, ashhadu Muhammad Rasulullah. So there were a lot of incidents like this when Allah spoke about what people spoke separately. When Al-Fadl ibn al-Abbas was caught in Badr, and he spoke to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, only me and my family need me, whatever. He said to him, didn't you say to al-Fadl that you hid so much gold in so and so place? بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. I hope the people on the YouTube and Facebook are able to come back and follow the teaching. We usually get around 30, 20 following, and 10, 6, 10, 6 to 10 on YouTube. Um, it's loading everything. Right, okay. Use. So وَلَقَدْ كَذَّبَ الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِهِمْ فَكَيْفَ كَانَ نَكِيرٌ. That there's people who denied before them, and then haven't they looked into the heavens, seen the birds. And another challenge from Allah Azza wa Jal, أَمَّنْ هَذَا الَّذِي هُوَ جُنْدٌ لَكُمْ يَنْصُرُكُم مِّن دُونِ الرَّحْمَنِ إِنِ الْكَافِرُونَ إِلَّا فِي غُرُورٍ. Do you have anyone, or any army, or any power who will support you um, beside Allah Azza wa Jal? Obviously none. And many people tried to challenge Allah Azza wa Jal, and they lost. In the past and now and going to be till the day of judgment. But he's saying, إِنِ الْكَافِرُونَ إِلَّا فِي غُرُورٍ. They are actually arrogant. They don't want to listen. Another challenge, أَمَّنْ هَذَا الَّذِي يَرْزُقُكُمْ إِنْ أَمْسَكَ رِزْقَهُ. Who is the one who is going to give you rizq, sustenance? If Allah withhold his rizq, how will Allah withhold his rizq? You are an employee, you get a wage every month, and what will stop your wage? Have you heard many companies go bust? They sacked all the employees. The factory burned down. Um, they accuse you of something and they sack you, they suspend you. Ideas run out of your mind. Um, why people retire when they are 65, sometimes 60? Anybody? Why people retire? Yeah, I'm getting old, but why the employer, they have more skills now, they could be more beneficial to the employer. Why he retire them? Because Imam Malik used to have some ma'un. Somebody hears and then
He thinks that the younger have got more energy, so they can work faster.
yeah,
So they,
younger and things. I was asked to go and see a patient in a hospital, and they said she was refusing her food and drink, and must be very depressed. I went there and I assessed her. She wasn't depressed. Would you like tea? Yes, she will take tea. If you say, would you like tea or coffee? Can't make decision because frontal lobe, all the executive function gone. I assessed one. She scored a 3 out of 30 on mini mental state, which means that she's severely demented. And social service went and assessed her at home and took the occupational therapist, and they said, no, no, she's functioning okay. She wakes up in the morning, wash and dress, make her breakfast, eat, sit and watch television. Lunchtime, she go make her lunch. After evening, automatically like a robot. If you ask her a question, which day is it today? Is it morning or evening? What's your name? Only she scored 3 out of 30. Because people lose their executive functions. They're no longer performing. They go to work, sit down, what to do next? Forgot. He doesn't know. So become unproductive to their employers. Say, no, no, sit at home, give you a wage to survive. So Allah could withhold your rizq when you're 30. I've seen 30 demented. I've seen 30 have stroke. I've seen people who have, or they have no ideas or run out of thought. And the advance of a country depends on how many genius people are around. If you run out of genius people, like if you have the whole community, they have no one who will sort out or solve problems. Then they're all stuck. They all have to rely on outsiders. I mean, I went to a country, I went to Dubai. I don't want to keep it hidden. I didn't see local. Everybody there who's foreign. I don't know whether they can't cook, they can't clean, they can't run offices, they can't run the metro, they can't run the buses, they can't run the taxis. What can they do? They can't get gas or petrol from underground. No, the American doing.
It's not
So,
about they can't, they don't want to,
but in fact, many of them can't because when I walked there,
because
they
they don't have to.
no they
Saudis were like that, and now Saudis, because they are not rich anymore, the Saudis actually nationals, they have started working, and you will see them
yeah,
actually
with the
doing
sword.
jobs, yeah,
But
everything.
they don't actually go and read anything. I mean, I was in casualty one day, and people go take the drug. Why it doesn't work? Come bring it back to me. I accumulated around a pile of it. I took it to the head of the hospital. I said, people don't want the tablets. They want something more exotic and things. So what they did, they ordered paracetamol like Smarties. Imagine. I used to give them paracetamol Smarties, like, different colors. They don't want to go and study and read. Somebody sent me a video from another country, from Middle East, all in Chinese, that they had created a belt, you put it there, and if you are half paralyzed, you stand and walk. I didn't understand a word of it. He said, do they sell it in Britain? What do you, why are you asking me? And I'm on the West. Go and ask the East. Go to the Chinese trade center in the country, ask them whether they have any information about this. Can I import one? And he doesn't want even to open. I actually, you go and search, and even in Arabic, Google, and you get answers. So Allah Azza wa Jal could make them just dumb. He will not get any food or drink, withhold the heaven, no rain, or it could be a virus, closed everything. Cacho disappeared, they said. Now, yeah, Jewish people 96% vaccinated now. 96. 60 in United Arab Emirates, in Dubai. 60%. They cherish the genius. They reward them and they give them incentive, and they encourage the genius. If they spot a genius child, they will look after him, reward him. Yeah, yeah. And the same in Finland, they have a high percentage of smart kids. And then Allah reminded us, قُلْ هُوَ الَّذِي أَنشَأَكُمْ. He is the one who created you and gave you the hearing and the seeing and the understanding. Well, afida here means understanding. You understand and the feel. You have the emotion, but you thank very little. قليلا ما تشكرون. هو الذي ذرأكم في الأرض. He allowed you to multiply and spread and become too many of you, but you will go back to him. And then the common question, ويقولون متى هذا الوعد? When is this promise you mentioned? When is this the day of judgment? They asked the believers and they asked the prophets and messengers, if you are telling us the truth, قل إنما العلم عند الله. The knowledge about the day of judgment, the Prophet ﷺ told us. He said the day of judgment will not take place until the sun come out of the west. Now, one of hadith, the Prophet ﷺ said there is a gate in the west. When the sun comes through this gate, and the gate is 70 years wide, the day of judgment will happen. So use your cleverness to predict. Who's going to predict? So the Earth moving within the Milky Way, there must be two stars or two, you know, landmark in the west of the Milky Way, and the sun moving. Allah said, وَالشَّمْسُ تَجْرِي لِمُسْتَقَرٍ لَهَا. The sun is moving to a predetermined destination. And the Prophet said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, once it gets through that gate, so locate where the sun now, within the Milky Way, where is that gate? How much it will take the earth to reach the gate, and then you know the day of judgment. It's beyond our ability. This is why Allah Azza wa Jal said it's in the knowledge of Allah Azza wa Jal. The knowledge about الساعة, it's عند Allah, with Allah Azza wa Jal. And I'm just going to warn you about it and explain it to you clearly. So that's my job. I'm going to tell you where the day of judgment is going to be. فَلَمَّا رَأَوْهُ زُلْفَةً, when you see the day of judgment, when you see the hour, you will get the um, grumpy faces and annoyed faces and horrible faces and frightened faces of those who are unbelievers. وقيل هذا الذي كنتم به توعدون. This is the one you are promised. No, sorry. تدعون. وقيل هذا الذي كنتم تدعون. تد... تدعون is calling for. Because they said first, show it the New Testament. Where is it? Yeah, they're asking. So this is the one you don't want. I said to you, if you speed on a motorway, you get a policeman and you'll be charged 6 points and £300 or 5% of your income. And then you stop with the police and the police coming. You don't like that. You've been told that this might happen. When it is happening, you hate it. Oh my God, I'm always afraid of this happening to me. Um, why it happened to me? Oh, somebody break into your house, and why it happened to me? Um, and then the آية قل أرأيتم إن أهلكني الله ومن معي أو رحمنا فمن يجير الكافرين من عذاب أليم. There's a lot of discussion and talk about it in the tafsir, and they talk about the Prophet ﷺ said, "You don't want me around? Yeah. Let's say I died. Allah made me die. Who is going to save you? You lose somebody who's going to get you to paradise, and you lost him now." That's one meaning. There's another meaning. إن رأيتم أن أهلكني الله ومن معي أو رحمنا. If Allah Azza wa Jal get us nowhere, we vanish, disappear. No Jannah, no Jahannam. Or we go to Jannah. 50-50. Either we go to nothing, because most kafirin, if they would say, once you're dead, you're dead. There's no life after death. Okay, let's take your theory. I gone to nowhere, disappeared. Or went to Jannah. What about you? Either you disappear or you go to hellfire. And that's taken by Pascal, the way Pascal wager, the 50-50. Put it to them, oh Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Put it to them. You are a loser. You better change your mind. And that the thing is that Allah is talking about after death. قل من يعيدنا, who will bring us after death? The Prophet ﷺ tell them, the one who created you in the first place. من أنشأكم أول مرة. The one who will bring you back. Because if I take you from here to New York and bring you back, they will say, who can take me? Oh, the one who brought you last time, let him bring you. He knows the way, he knew how. He will get you here. Easy answer. So it's risky. It's 50-50. You better believe, because there's no time to recover the loss. قل هو الرحمن وآمنا به. Say he is the merciful who we believed in. And Sheikh Ahmed Manam was mentioning that Allah Azza wa used more the word Ar-Rahman in Surah Al-Tabarak, because He wants to put in you that the most merciful there. You're talking, the one who is most merciful talking to you. The day of judgment, we are told, Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam mentioned that Allah Azza wa will show so much mercifulness that even Iblis try to, raise his head, he might get some of the merciness of Allah Azza wa. So it become like, off you go and off you go and off you go. Like we never expected this to happen. But obviously in this life, you wouldn't know. So you have to make sure that you are staying on the right path. Al-Sirat al-Mustaqim. Another challenge. قل أرأيتم إن أصبح ماؤكم غورا. If the water disappears, فمن يأتيكم بماء معين. Now we have the storage, no matter how much you store. They told us that to save the environment, store the water, which is coming from heaven. And if you store the water, the British water, they still charge you for draining your water. No, no, I'm saving it. But, uh, but how much are you going to save? How many tanks? Um, I went once to Jordan and to visit my nephews and brother. He was alive at the time. And there were no water in the country, in the city. And you go to every house, they have tanks of water, all bottles, big and small. So it become for them the first job for all the family, secure water for the day. So it become like the Imam became more widespread. And but if the water gone altogether, or أرأيتم إن أصبح ماؤكم غورا, who will bring you usable water? Because ma'in is the water which nourishes us, not like distilled water. Because when they go to the sea, you can remove the salt and things by heating the water, take the steam, cool it, but that's not containing all the minerals you need, all the stuff in the water you need. Who will bring fresh water for you to drink? And you should say Allah Rabbul Alameen. Allah will bring that. And one of the kafirin at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, he said, "Oh, our digging machines, like al-fa'as wal-mi'wal," he said, al-fa'as wal-mi'wal, the digging things you use, farmer use. And the next day Allah made him lose the water inside his eye, became blind. who's going to who's going to bring you the water? The water inside the eye, the water. I mean, one of the things my wife mentioned when she said, she said like she's seeing a shadow in front of her eye. As a doctor, you straight think, oh, there's a bleed inside. But if you ask and blink and things and look, is there a shadow there? No. And when I was in Wales, a guy came to casualty and he said he see an eagle moving. Wherever he moved, there's an eagle standing there. And I took my thermoscope and I looked, and there were a bleed, subhanallah, the shadow of an eagle inside his retina. And 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 that's really classic case. You don't see it. But for him, when he say I'm seeing an eagle, you think this is delusion or some hallucination thing. But when you look into the fundus, I looked and I was amazed. I said, it's really, a bleeding there. Um, so that guy lost the water inside his eyes, and it's not like you're going to inject water instead. It's obviously special liquid Allah Azza wa Jal made. Like the cornea doesn't have arteries to feed it, so the food transmitted between one cell to the other cell to the other cell. So you have a clear vision in front of you, and that's obviously perfection of Allah Azza wa Jal. So that's the end of um, Surah Al-Mulk, and that's the first surah in the chapter 29. And once, inshallah, I mentioned before, once we finish that, I would myself finish um, the whole Quran. We started in 2001. We did Juzu Amma at that time, chapter 30. So when we finish 29, I'll ask you whether you want chapter 30 again. So to go back to the summary of the surah, um, so Allah Azza wa Jal started by telling us who is talking, and you better obey Allah Azza wa Jal, because in Surah Al-Tahrim, Allah showed us what the wives of the Prophet did and how they were told off. And you're not better than the wives of the Prophet, so be careful and not put yourself ahead of the Prophet ﷺ. And and he at the beginning told us about himself, تبارك الذي بيده الملك الذي خلق الموت والحياة. And then Allah Azza wa Jal mentioned what Allah prepared for the unbelievers and the believers, and he described hellfire. Hellfire described in many places. In one place here, شهيقا وهي تفور. In another place, لها شهيق وزفير, inhalation and exhalation, to make you feel it is a living creature breathing. And that's more terrifying. I mean, if you they only see it in science fiction films and in cartoon, and the table talking and trying to eat you, and the wall jump on you. But and here they were saying us how hellfire itself will be a living creatures, not just to see them around about, and how Allah Azza wa Jalla is aware of all your secrets. Um, so carry on enjoying life on earth and be mindful of Allah Azza wa Jalla. And he mentioned from 16 to 18 the punishment could come from above you or from underneath you. And he gave us example of our weakness, that if we run out of ideas, run out of food, drink, um, and run out of water, who will bring it? Um, and for those who deny the coming of Allah Azza wa Jalla, what happened to them and what could happen to you? And then he mentioned the 50-50 risk, that the Prophet ﷺ asked to talk to them. If I die, who is going to warn you and get you saved from hellfire? Or if I perish, there is no life after death. Or there is life and Allah put me in paradise. What will happen to you? Either there is no life after death or there is hell. So it is a high risk you shouldn't take. And for Muslim is paradise or nothing. For unbelievers there is hell or nothing. Obviously for us there is nothing called nothing. It doesn't exist. Either hell or paradise. But just a way to talk to the atheist who you are talking to them about. We spoke about last week the layers of earth, which is probably what Allah meant سبع سماوات طباقا, because in Surah Al-Tariq لتركبن طبقا عن طبق, you will travel um, from level to a layer. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. اللهم اجعل اجتماعنا هذا اجتماعا مرحوما وتفرقنا من بعده تفرقا معصوما. May Allah will make our meeting blessed and protect us after leaving here. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. الحمد لله.